June. Oxford defines the American dream as the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to be achieved. DEC member Kusum Kavya, born in Kenya and educated in the United Kingdom, certainly well represents that ideal. I started with DEC member because that is something she has in common with almost all of the attendees here. But like you, DEC member is just a part of her bio. I first met Kusum in 2011 when her company Combustion Associates, or CAI, applied for the President's E Award. Her company received that presidential award, and in 2016 we met again when Secretary Penny Pritzker presented her and company co-founder Mukund Kavya with a second award, the President's E-Star Award for Exports. CAI is a woman-owned small business that provides custom engineering and manufacturing solutions to the energy, process, and environmental industries worldwide. CAI's products are engineered, manufactured, and tested at its state-of-the-art facility in Corona, California. In the energy division, CAI provides modular power generation systems that operate 24/7 and are used for on-site prime power and microgrid applications. CAI also provides systems integration of combined heat and power needs. Over the company's more than 30-year history, CAI has significantly expanded its exports and global customer base, allowing it to deliver products and engineering services anywhere in the world. The company has provided turnkey solutions to clients in the US, Bangladesh, Belize, Benin, Cameroon, Canada, China, Ghana, Kazakhstan, Nigeria, and Togo. Many of these countries are considered very challenging destinations for exports. Thanks to Ms. Kavya's leadership of strategic business development, exports now represent more than 60% of the company's total sales. In addition to the 2 presidential awards, CAI's export achievements have been widely recognized with numerous awards, including the Exporter of the Year for Sub-Saharan Africa by the US Exim Bank, and the 2020 Exporter of the Year from the US Small Business Administration. Ms. Kavya, like many of you, was not satisfied with just being a successful business person. She also dedicated herself to helping others achieve business success and global expansion. Her dedication was recognized, and among many honors, she was appointed to the California Inland Empire District Export Council, was named 2008 National Minority Person of the Year by the U.S. Small Business Administration, was appointed to the U.S. Department of Commerce's Investment Advisory Council, and to a 1-year term on the U.S. Exim Bank Sub-Saharan Africa Advisory Committee. If that wasn't enough, President Barack Obama himself singled out Ms. Kavya and CAI's export contributions at the U.S. Africa Business Forum at the White House in 2014. It gives me great pleasure to welcome today our keynote speaker, Kusum Kavya. Kusum.
Thank you, Laura, so much for that kind introduction. Fellow DEC members, members of the U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. government agencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's such a great honor and privilege for me to present this keynote address at this year's NADEC Fall Forum 2020. What a year it's been. I'm sure that 2020 will go down in the history as the year that it was most challenging, filled with anxiety, fear, and above all, loneliness. We're not used to coming to a meeting on Zoom or Teams, and yet this is what we're doing. So thankfully, we have the technology available to keep the focus on our business and connect online. Now more than ever, we realize how technology can enable people and businesses to communicate with one another. So this afternoon, I'm here to share my personal story and my personal insights with you on the major challenges that we have encountered on the road to exporting from California, and how we've taken these challenges or obstacles and turned them into opportunities. You see, when I found inside a challenge, there's an opportunity waiting to be discovered. Whether it's a lesson to learn, a habit to break or form, or insights into building strong relationships. All this and more comes from obstacles and challenges that life imposes on all of us. As Laura mentioned, both my husband and I are from Nairobi, Kenya, and we immigrated to the US from England with nothing but a suitcase full of dreams. We were in our teens and never thought that one day we would be in business for ourselves. Yet underneath that first immigrant mentality was entrepreneurship, something waiting to be discovered. My father and mother always said, do well by doing good. And that's kind of the thread of what's kept us in business these past 30 years. Is everybody able to hear me?
We can.
Thank you. So America is a place for dreamers. And we started off by doing well by doing good. CAI started out as being a consulting company in the air pollution control systems industry, where there was a big need in Southern California, as we have the most stringent emission standards. Now, we all know that a company grows by its customer base, employees, its networks, and our family-owned business, CAI, got its start the same way, from very humble beginnings. A very tiny office with a staff of 2, my husband and I. The first obstacle that we encountered was we were a husband and wife team. We had to work very closely together during the day and see each other in the evening as well. Secondly, we have strange names. And we were coming from a strange country. Even stranger is the name of our company, Combustion Associates. On many meetings, on many calls, people ask me, do you burn things? Do you combust them? And I have to say no. In fact, we provide guidance and systems and solutions for air pollution control. The second obstacle was that we were in a very competitive engineering environment. So we had to work twice as hard and really provide value for our customers. From consulting, we moved on to contracting, and today we are a full-fledged manufacturing company. And in our product line, we have the Spirit power generation systems. And here's an example of what those systems look like. So the earlier panel before me, we're talking about supply chain. And so you can relate that a manufacturer like CAI has thousands of other small businesses in our supply chain that provide us with the steel, with the cable, the pipe, everything that you see here, instrumentation, controls that we need in order to make these units. And the best thing about selling these overseas is that it comes out with a made in USA flag that puts us above all competition from overseas. Also in the power generation business, you may know the very big giants in our industry. For example, GE, Siemens, Caterpillar. They all resonated with our customers. And so for them, the biggest question was, why should we go with CAI? And so we had to prove ourselves in providing custom engineering solutions and really listening to what the customer wanted. And often this was lacking in that big competition. It is no longer necessary to be a corporate giant to get the attention of important clients. We have to learn to be agile and have other customers feel important and valued. Now, for many years during this 30-year span, we have seen our slowdowns up and down in the economy, experienced not, no matter what, we could not have the work come in, and revenues were sliding, and we were worried about how we were going to meet the next payroll. Just like all of you other fellow DEC members who have your own businesses have to worry about how are you going to pay your suppliers and meet payroll. But you hang in there and you make the necessary cuts, including not taking your own paycheck, and learn how to survive. As Charles Darwin, the naturalist, observed, those who survive are those that evolve and learn to adapt. So our first order for power generation systems back in the year 2000 came out of California, but our biggest order to date came from a tiny West African country on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean named Benin. Now, it is a fact that less than a quarter of the African population has access to power. So going back to Benin, here were some of our challenges. Unknown territory, sub-Saharan Africa, the other side of the world, language barriers, culture barriers, customs barrier. And then on top of all that, our customer was a government. So we had bureaucratic challenges. We were entrepreneurs, they were government. And so you could imagine, we wanted to go fast, they slowed us down, they had their protocols and paperwork to complete. So when we first received this inquiry, I really did not know where Benin was located. Neither did I know that its citizens spoke French, and very different customs and culture when it comes to doing business. As most of you know, we Americans love to sit at the table and start working on the issues or solving problems right away. Well, that's not the case in Africa. In Africa, they want to get to know you, which means you have to open up, you have to relax, and you have to let the course take its way. So more in the process than the results. So we sat down and we looked at what was in front of us. It was a huge risk. First, we had to provide our proposal, and not only in English, but in French. Then we were invited by the foreign government to visit and provide answers to our proposal. The obstacle became an opportunity for growth and success. In my mind, the words of John Kennedy, our president, come to mind. He said, "We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's difficult." And that's how Mukun and I felt looking at the Benin project. Now, it started out being a 40 megawatt power plant, and it turned out to double in size. And I'll go into that a little bit. The photographs that you're seeing in front of you are what was given to us. Now, up to that time, we have never done what's called a turnkey project. And so the government said, here's CAI, here's a piece of land. We want you to build the power plant here. So we had to gather our resources, look at what was available, look at our networks, and actually go there and clear out the land, pour the foundation, dig the trenches, do all of that civil and structural work in country, on site, that we've never done before. So not only that, on top of that, we had to install the equipment. We had to make sure everything was running clearly, and then hand over the keys, so to speak, to the government after construction and training. Well, on top of doing the power generation project, the government handed us the transmission phase of the project as well. So here was another first for a small company out of California. We had to build a high voltage switchyard, substation, transformers, and actually run a high voltage line so that the government and the citizens of Benin could enjoy power. So in short, it was a huge infrastructure project for the Republic of Benin, but a giant undertaking for a small company in Corona. Did we make mistakes along the way? Absolutely. Thankfully, they were not devastating because I had my fellow debt members to go to, others that guided me, and really provided the support and mentoring, which is what a small company needs in order to grow and thrive. And in the words of Albert Einstein, anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. And so this slide that you see before us was the result of our blood, sweat, and tears. An 80 megawatt power plant, all that equipment that you see on the ground there was built right here in California, tested, shipped, and then installed. We also had to build large fuel tanks that you see in the background, and those were done in country. Again, working with the government of Benin, the US Embassy in Benin, and the State Department to help us find qualified suppliers for the work that we needed to do. After this, of course, who can forget celebration? And so the next couple of slides are our way of celebrating. This photograph was taken at the City of Corona chamber, where they helped facilitate the full delegation to come and visit. And then the next slide is my husband, Makun, meeting with the president of the Republic of Benin, who came in, of course, did the official opening of the power plant. We had reporters. Everybody was very excited to have this equipment from the USA be part of their infrastructure. At the closing of the project, we took it upon ourselves to write down the lessons learned from doing this kind of a project. So the next slide talks about the E3 factor. E3 stands for education, empowerment, and employment. This really, in a nutshell, is how we were able to surpass the competition from China and from Europe in able to obtain this contract. We said to the government that we would provide the education. We were also going to hire local laborers to install this power plant so that it becomes their pain and also their property. And as a part of giving them education and employment, there was empowerment. The next slide shows that we actually wrote a white paper on this. And the white paper was submitted to the largest power generation conference in the world. And again, we stress the fact that we as Americans, when we go out and we do infrastructure projects, we want to emphasize to the local community where we come that it's going to be beneficial for them, that it's going to improve their economy, it's going to create jobs for them as well as for the US entity. But finally, it's going to matter that an asset is left behind that they can call their own because they too had a part in making that work. As a result of doing good by doing well, as Laura mentioned, we received the Honorable E Award. I was so fortunate that Laura Barnby was in that audience helping me because I had a lot of nerves and I was shaking because It's never happened to a small business like ours before, where you get introduced to the U.S. Secretary of Commerce and be at the White House and in front of people that you never think that you're ever going to be in front of. After that, I was personally invited to the first U.S. African Leaders Summit, where President Obama mentioned our company success to thousands of African dignitaries and leaders in the audience. It was an amazing experience. And even today, I get chills thinking about it. A first-generation immigrant being able to be represented so well by the leadership of this country. Like you, I'm an entrepreneur bringing solutions to customers. That's what drives my company and my business. Along our company's journey into exporting to various parts of the world, as Laura mentioned, Ghana, Togo, Cameroon, Nigeria. And somebody once mentioned to me that if you can do business in Nigeria and get paid for it, then you can do business anywhere. So early on, during our growth phase into exporting, we tagged on with the U.S. Exporting Department, U.S. Department of Commerce, Ontario, California, where Fred Latapurisa and his team helped us in so many ways to gain the confidence and meet with potential foreign buyers. At every corner, they provided opportunities for CAI to connect, and we grabbed those opportunities. We had a large Nigeria Chamber of Commerce visit our factory several years ago. 40 plus companies that all wanted power. It couldn't have been better. They were our audience, and we made sure that they went away with a really good experience. The same U.S. Department of Commerce in Ontario, California, introduced us to the U.S. Export-Import Bank, the Advocacy Center, USTDA, Millennium Challenge Corporation, and other delegations from China and India that were so valuable for us to grow our network. I really want to take this opportunity to thank Fred Latapurisa, who just retired last year. Today, I want to thank Edward Reutberg, Tony, Erica, and of course, my CDEC team, California Inland Empire District Export Council. Here's that photograph that was taken just February of this year. Nick Gruder, Kerry Warner, Elizabeth Gwen, Lisa Anderson, Myrna Elner are just a few to mention. You have taught me so much valuable lessons that I can never thank you enough. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the CAI employees, my team. Priti in particular, she goes out of her way to make sure things get done. Puvia, Pam, Nadine, and of course, none of this would be possible without my husband, Mukund Kadia. I've also learned during my journey into being a small business and exporting that it's not the title, it's not the recognition, but rather the relationships and the risks you take on a daily basis to grow your company. If you enjoy the process, the rewards will come. Having the stamina to stay open and flexible, to change long to see success. And those large companies that I mentioned earlier, Siemens and GE and Caterpillar, are now today our strategic partners because of relationship, collaboration. They too come to CAI for resolving some of their issues, which is a great team effort. I have noted firsthand that success isn't overnight. It's when every day you get a little better than the day before. That's what counts, and that's what adds up. Yes, challenges are always going to be there. We can either feel sorry for ourselves or we can roll up our sleeves and look at growth and education. Today, I'm making my business to help other small businesses that are looking to export or women in manufacturing, which is my passion. That's why the District Export Council and all of you national members are so vital to pass on your lessons learned to the next generation of exporters. I want to help other women come into the power business and into manufacturing. During COVID, working from home, there's been a lot of distractions, plus the anxiety of catching COVID at every corner. We're learning to starve your distractions and feed your focus, in the words of Daniel Coleman, for me has led to personal growth. I make it a point to bring my best self to every Zoom and every Teams meeting with potential clients, suppliers, etc. No distractions. I'm not after the results, but I'm loving the process to connect with others and finding out what their problems are and what kind of solutions do I have in my network that I can provide them with. In closing, I want to echo Sir Winston Churchill's words, which are, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. Fellow deck members, I applaud you in having the courage to continue and grow and evolve. That is what America is all about. The time has come to take charge of your destiny, to better ourselves and help our country be the great nation that leads through helping others, doing well by doing good, turning obstacles into opportunities for success. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to connect with you today.
Thank you, Stu. One of the things we missed out when we're on Zoom is we really can't show our appreciation for you coming to speak to us today. Thank you. It's an inspiring story and one worthy of emulation for so many other small American businesses to make that foray into international markets and into global trade. Certainly impressive. And again, I thank you for joining us today. It's been fantastic, and we certainly do appreciate it. Also, I want to thank I want to thank the 20 speakers that we've had, quite a few people in the last 4.5 hours, and the additional people that came on and were helping us organize. And moreover, I'd like to thank you, the attendees, the DEC members, the international business people that have taken the time today to learn about some of the different areas, some of the different conditions that are out there right now in a risky world. Maybe getting some ammunition that you can go back and help other companies, your company, or other companies that are in your DEC area, as they too ask questions and try to figure out what's the best way for me to go internationally. So what I'm going to do is, now that you've got the ammunition to go help others, we're going to ask you to help the NADEC. You'll be getting a survey in the next couple days asking what more, the NADEC, what can we do for you? What would you like to see in these panels, presentations, and material? What can we do to assist you? Please fill that out, get it back, and we as the NADEC would certainly like to do what we can for you. So again, thank you all, Basum especially. Thank you for attending today. Have a good evening, have a good afternoon, and if David Day's still on, I suppose you can go to lunch or something right now. Come back to work tomorrow, and if you're not going to do it yourself, help somebody else export something on a Friday. With that, I am going to end our webinar today. But if you'd like any final comments, again, one of those things that we miss out when we're not together, I'm going to leave the chat box open, and feel free for several minutes to go ahead and share anything that you'd like to with your fellow attendees, your fellow DEC members, the speakers, and so forth. Again, have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.